Thank you for connecting today. We are going to start our panel. We have a lot to discuss, and I'm very pleased to be moderating the panel today about hospitality workforce and strategies. This is the afternoon of the second day of the summit. We've spent the last couple of days talking to industry professionals and leaders of the tourism industry across Africa. And everybody has been giving valuable insights and strategies, best practices, and opinions on how we can move forward and how we can work towards travel recovery collectively and in a spirit of collaboration, of course. Today is actually Thanksgiving, and a day like this actually comes very handy and quite a special celebration for those who do, but also to remind us that the industry at this given point needs the support of everybody. And we all are thankful that even in this current time, we are able to contribute even by going virtual in summits like this and give our contribution, give our opinions and our support to the industry. Today, we're going to discuss about a very specific topic. We will be talking about the hospitality workforce that has been heavily affected over the last few months. Of course, travel recovery is a B2C message, sort of saying it's towards our consumer, but it's also, and most importantly, towards the people that are working in the industry. I will be your host and moderator for the session today. I'm based in Mauritius. My name is Dolores Semeraro, and I've been working in hospitality and tourism for the past 15 years. And guess what? Over the last few months, I found myself thinking that the industry that I love and live and breathe actually needs help. And here I am giving the support that the travel organizations need to go on a journey towards travel recovery. And I'm pleased to be joined today by a panel of experts that is an international panel and very specifically skilled on hospitality workforce. And from the UK, I have the pleasure of having Eric Rogers, the founder, the man himself of Eric Rogers Global Hospitality Technology Services. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to talk about some very interesting and some very sensitive topics during this panel. And I'd like to start with you, Eric, by talking about how the hospitality workforce has changed over the last few months in terms of not just about what all the protocols that we needed to learn and all the new standards that we needed to get used to and apply, but most importantly, the level of technology that has been forced on us, and also we were kind of forced to embrace within our day-to-day job. So a brand new skill set is now required by the candidates, by the people who want to join the industry today. In your opinion, how do we make sure that when we work towards the talent acquisition process, that we keep a right balance between what the candidate can bring in, but what the industry needs?
Well, you're absolutely correct. It's a very good question and very contemporary, shall we say. Job types will change. It's no longer a may change, and that change has been happening over years anyway. But now, because of the pandemic, it has been accelerated quite dramatically. You've had an influx of new technology to help everybody get over these challenging times. So you've seen guest apps, in-room tablets, check-in kiosks are becoming the standard, whereas before the companies selling them were always trying, and it was a very slow process, shall we say. Restaurant menus. Who'd have thought that within a matter of a year, suddenly being able to use your phone and just capturing a QR code and ordering would effectively get rid of waiters practically. I mean, it's kind of scary. I can't think what they're doing in France. We all know what the French waiters are. Okay, so, things have changed a lot. I mean, there are also chat apps as well. Again, it's about bringing conversation or connecting to guests, but in a different way than we have been used to in this industry. These solutions are, they've been trying to use them for a while to bring guest engagement into the 21st century. Suddenly, we've had a very rude movement into that, and that faster movement than one would have anticipated has had a direct impact on staffing levels and the skill sets needed. It's not enough to just simply rehire for the earlier roles. You know, once we start what I classify as the great return, which I hope to be seeing very soon. But you can't just, as I said, you can't just hire to those roles. You're going to have to reevaluate the actual tasks and activities that are going to be required in this new normal. So that's going to bring into play more than just HR liaising with the department head for an F&B person or whoever. It's also going to involve IT. IT is suddenly going to have their fingers in a lot of new pies. They're going to need to work out what is actually required, what can be done with technology, how are they going to deliver it, and the skill set of the people that are actually going to have to use it on the front line. So that is rather important. You know, the new normal has moved on so much in terms of what people are actually looking for and what they're expecting. It's kind of important. So HR is going to need to review and rewrite every single job description. They're going to need to arrange training for those staff that have managed to hang on to their jobs, but ensure the existing and the new hires are fully capable of dealing with the situation today. So effectively, a full review of the hotel's operational requirements is going to be needed. I think many hotels have realized this over the course of the pandemic, but have shied away from it because of cost. Now, you know, they're going to have to do it. Hopefully, some will be more prepared than others. The waiting staff will be shrunk. You know, sorry, that type of job will no longer be quite as populous, shall we say. Front desk staff as well. You're no longer going to need a front desk in many hotels, because with kiosks, suddenly you'll need a few people floating around who can understand and explain the technology to guests as they arrive. If they have a bit of trouble with it, they need to be able to, you know, have somebody to hand. For example, Citizen M, I think, is probably a classic case of this. If anybody's ever stayed at a Citizen M, you walk in, somebody greets you and points you to the kiosks, and if you seem to be having any doubt at all, they're there to help. But that's it. And that's what's needed. So as much as anything else, your front office staff suddenly become trainers. So a slightly different role again compared to what it was in the past.
It's quite important to highlight that there are countries where the technology input is a given. It's normal. It's part of the day-to-day process. It's easier to embrace.
Yes.
In other countries, instead, where technology is a little bit more challenging, connectivity is a challenge. So when it comes to, let's say, the old ways, the traditional ways, even by the new normal, we have to retrain the workforce and look at ways how they can express themselves, how they can serve the guest of tomorrow within what they need by preserving their own health and also the health of the guest. So when technology, I love a saying that goes like, we let the technology do what can be automated so that we as human can do what can be exceptional. And
I agree 100% with that, yes.
So when we look at, for example, at the new, as you rightly mentioned, the new job descriptions that we need to have in place today. So when we have, for example, department head or directors level or people that are anyway in guest contact line, and until yesterday, they might not even be on social media or they might not even have a smartphone. But now these people are required to be quickly problem solving a difficulty that a guest can have with technology. And for that, we need a new skill set.
Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes in what's required. And I think it needs to be looked at from the corporate level as well. You need to work out what's going to be suitable, what types of people you're actually going to need tomorrow or now today in your hotel. Because again, it may not be the type of people that you had in the past. Even on the IT side, some of the IT skill sets that are going to be required will be different. It was interesting what you were saying regarding internet access, and you're absolutely right. There are some countries where it's a given, and you can get fiber to the house or whatever else it is. In other countries, it's a little more challenging. I know where you live in Mauritius, it can be a little challenging. I've seen the cabling. A friend of mine showed me how it all sets up. So it's kind of, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it works well in some cases, but it is true that we cannot always run to call the IT manager when the guest has an issue with an iPad or a QR code or an app. But either way, we have an opportunity to retrain the team, and probably as we move forward and we embrace and we hire people that are within the millennials, for example, we don't actually need to train them. They need to train us on what technology is today. So when we look at, it's true.
Yeah, it's not something I would dispute at all. Millennials find it very, very comfortable and very easy to work. And they were already sort of heading into this new normal themselves, just the way they communicate and connect with each other. I mean, we didn't discover this, they did. They already started, with the technology. They already moved past Facebook. I mean, I'm still using Facebook. They're on Instagram, they're on this, they're on that. The way they communicate with each other, the way they consume everything is completely different. And the world has turned. Thankfully, I mean, could you imagine if this had happened sort of 30 years ago before internet at home? We would have probably had some challenges, to put it mildly.
Yeah, let's call them challenges, in fact, yes.
Yes.
But when it comes to technology and the use and overuse of social media in this case, so a brand image when it comes to this difficult time can easily be affected, whether you are working in hospitality or maybe you were let go in this crisis and within obviously the challenges of the industry. So Grace, I come to you with this question about how, in this case, can we maintain a positive brand image, even though in the industry, many of the big number of the hospitality workforce has been let go, has received decisions that were taken for them. So obviously, everybody now has a voice online and can share their feelings and their emotions. So as we unfortunately navigate this difficult time, how do we maintain a positive brand image in hospitality?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Dolores and Eric. I'm just amazed to be part of this team. With the pandemic, COVID-19, it really hit the hospitality industry, and especially in Ghana. We were locked down for a while. And how we handled it at Accra Marriott to make sure that we kept our brand image and our work culture is by being the preferred employer. We actually engaged all our stakeholders. We engaged our owners, we engaged our leadership, we engaged the Marriott International and our associates at the very beginning in March when it hit Accra, Ghana. And what we did was we kept all our staff on, and we discussed about reduced work hours and reduced salary. And everybody agreed with that, with all the stakeholders. So we kept our people, and our competitors said in Accra, we're the 5-star hotel. All our competitors' staff was not as so nice as we did. We kept all our team on till about September, when we knew that the business was not recovering and the revenues are not coming in, and we can't we cannot continue to keep everybody on. So what we did was we ensured that we took care of our people. The people that had to let go was contracts that was need to be renewed at that point. You know, we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen. So we can't continue to renew people that was on annual renewable contract. We can't continue to renew that. So those are the only people that we let go. That was starting August and September gradually. That kept our brand image as Marriott International. We put people first. Putting people first means we put our associates first. We put our guests first. So we cared about them, and the best associates that were let go, we tried to find them a job. We tried to place them in sister hotels. Marriott has a website that we partner with companies that are actively hiring. So we took them there. So we are known as the preferred employer, the preferred company to work for. So we use that to keep our brand image as our culture of putting people first. Because we know if you let go of people, you let go of a family, you let go of community. So we try our best for the longest time to keep people on. So we realized that this business is not going to recover anytime soon. That's why we made decisions to not renew people's contract that were due. That's how we did ours. Thank you.
It's true. In fact, when you mentioned that the company has not let anybody go, you have not let down anybody, and you kept the team, you kept the workforce in place, even during the month of lockdowns and during the month of low occupancies, by working on reducing salaries for a short term or a long term. But this has affected also the trust that the candidates, that the workforce has in the tourism industry. And when it comes to, let's say, a young person that wants to start a career in hospitality today and is looking at hotel giving very low salaries and tourism organization not hiring, or a skill set that perhaps that candidate doesn't feel like he or she has. So there's a lot of mistrust in the industry right now from a workforce standpoint. That mistrust is mostly based on the economic downturn. So the salaries, the wages, and how have we treated? Not everybody has treated the hospitality workforce like Marriott. Many have been actually forced to accept salary reduction. So Eric, I come to you with this question about how do you think we could reevaluate new strategies to make sure that we win that trust again, given what is happening?
It's quite interesting listening to what Grace was saying, because that resonates very strongly with me in terms of what should have been done and in many cases what wasn't. I actually think the first things hotels will need is a compact, an agreement, something that details what would happen should we end up in this situation again. Better redundancy conditions, notice periods, etc. Let's actually put it in writing so that people feel more comfortable and confident. The whole situation really hurt a lot when I saw a lot of the people that I knew over the years just being let go. And it's funny, in a recession, an old boss of mine told me the people that you let go first in the recession are the people that aren't quite as good as others. You know, it's common sense. If you've got two people there, you'll keep the best one and let the other guy go. And when you come out, is the time when you hope to recruit another one just as good as the guy you kept. It all changed completely, and the whole thing just fell apart, and it was kind of disturbing. There was one hotel group in the UK, I won't mention them by name, but on the first day of lockdown, they gave their entire housekeeping department 1 week's notice, and that was backdated. And as these housekeepers were living in-house, they effectively had to move out the same day they got the letter. So that, I think they're going to find it really hard to find new staff when we all come back to, normality. But
when we look at, for example, at that sort of broken trust in the hospitality workforce, and that as the industry, as people working within the industry, I'm not just talking about the local workforce, but also the expats workforce. So the local workforce that has been affected has been sent home and waiting for better times to come, or waiting for the hotels or the premises to open again. But when we look at the expat workforce, we've had many cases of people having to completely leave the country and relocate as a matter of days by knowing that they were no longer required. So when it comes to re-strategizing within the workforce in terms of rebuilding that trust, Eric, do you think we should look at the local workforce first, or we should equally we should keep that eye open on the international workforce?
Well, I'd like to think we should be looking at the hotel level at the local workforce first. There are going to be more senior roles, which traditionally with companies like Marriott, you have your website, you move around within the group, and it gains these people some very special capabilities. You've got people at senior level in Marriott who've lived all over the world, who actually understand the differences. And it's not necessarily obvious just reading it in a guidebook or spending a couple of weeks on holiday in Mauritius or Ghana. It doesn't work like that. You live the country, you understand it. So I think it would be a shame if the senior staff were just recruited locally. I think the local people in countries should be able to move cross-border. But I do think, certainly for things like housekeeping, that type of role should be recruited locally first, because there's, let's not kid ourselves, there's going to be a lot of unemployment in all our countries when we start to come out of this. But I think it's also important to make sure that those people that we do recruit, have the right skill set. But let's start off to see if we can find them locally. And I'm probably doing myself out of a job here, but it's better to say this up front. If, for most of the staff in the hotel, to bring them in from a local place is a very, very good idea. So long as they also have the language skills. That's where you start to end up with some slight issues. But I don't think, in Ghana and in Mauritius, certainly you guys are okay. You've got a multilingual community. But where you don't have that, and obviously it becomes more important, because you're only going to end up maybe with a small cohort of front desk staff wandering around now, not behind the front desk anymore. So it's important that they can deal with a multilingual guest very, very easily. So, there are going to be challenges.
When you look at, as you rightly mentioned, some position could be filled by international candidates, and others could be very much looked at the local perspective. But it's all a matter of training in a way, because either you are in a senior position or in a junior position, you are given the chance to bring in international expertise in the organization. So for example, at Marriott, we have an international team, and within your location in Ghana, for example, Grace, you've seen that a lot of candidates and a lot of, the senior team, the management team, the employees, they all work together to learn what's required of them during the current times. And what is required of them today to learn? The health and safety protocols, all the things that we need to know tip top to make sure that we don't just come out the wrong way when we welcome our guests. And not just because we might not know the standard operating procedure, but most importantly because it's our health that goes with it. So how did you make sure, Grace, that the team at Marriott in Accra was well trained and prepared with all these new policy standards and procedures to follow?
Okay, this is a good question. With Accra Marriott Hotel, because we didn't close up, we stayed open throughout the pandemic. We were able to train our staff that's on duty, that's working. We were able to train everybody. We have new norm orientation program for all our associates. So we started by training everybody on the new skills, on the new normals that we are coming. We developed SOPs to ensure that all job descriptions are changed, to ensure that we stay with the workforce has changed. It's totally with the pandemic. The things we do has changed. Let's take housekeeping, for example. The housekeeping, cleanliness of guest room has changed. After every guest use, we have aerostatic sprays that we sanitize, we disinfect the rooms. Even the caution for our associates to ensure that precautions they are going in or the PPEs that they have to wear is all training. How they handle cleaning of a guest room is all training. So we have to train. We have to train all our staff, total staff, to ensure that we are COVID-19 protocol compliance. So we had a mandatory training for all our associates. It depends on the skill level. If you go to food and beverage, we had to ensure the setting of the tables is done differently. How we service our guests is different. If you go to front desk, how we even welcome our guests is different. The precautions we have to do. So we have on a training side of the hotel, it was all leadership, all people from directors down to everybody was given new skills training so that we stay healthy for ourselves. We want to create an environment where associates are safe to come to the workplace and our guests are safe to come to the hotel. Our guests feel that our environment is safe. If our guests in the hotel realize that we are not using the hygiene protocols, we are not using the sanitation protocols, they won't come back, they won't feel safe. So we created an environment where everybody feels safe to be around each other. We, the staff, the associate has to feel safe to be around each other. So what we did is training, and it's ongoing training. You know, we train our stand-up, daily stand-up. We use that refresher course. We train in communication, posters. We put it on our daily packet. It's in your face. We have to ensure that washing of hands, we wash our hands daily. PPEs, you wear your face masks all the time. Our guests in Ghana, is a law to wear your face mask. So we have to ensure that the guests are wearing their face masks. So even if you come out of your room, you forget your face mask, we have complimentary face masks for you in the restaurant, at the front desk. We ensure. And our guests are very, very nice. They are not arguing with us. They just wear their face mask. Our staff, it's part of your uniform. You have to wear your face mask. We change our gloves every 20 minutes. We have to wash our hands every 20 minutes. We have to make sure the cafeteria, social distancing, and all the protocols are in place. Washing of your hands and making sure that we keep everybody in place. And that comes with training, and that comes with enforcement, that comes with refresher courses, that comes with every day going over it. So that's what we did, so that our guests are safe and our staff are safe.
Well, it sounds like you are not just training the operational side of things, but you're actually shaping a new mindset around how we want to go ahead, how we want to face and work towards a brand new safe environment that we all have to contribute to. As we were chatting before, in many hotels that they have reopened to the local market, for example, whilst the staff is required to wear all the protectional, the PPE, all the mask and everything, the guest himself, they don't, because they feel like the hotels are like a safe bubble where they can remove the mask and just enjoy their time. So it's about building a new mindset in the hospitality workforce, a mindset that is based on enabling us and the guests to safeguard each other. And if that comes as a must do, it can also happen that the hospitality workforce might say, oh, okay, I have to do it because it's part of my contract. We want to come to a point where we say, I have to do it because it's my duty, because I have to. What do you think, Eric?
I think it's critical that it's not just the staff, but the guests as well. I think the days of accepting somebody coming into work who's got a bit of a cough are finished. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the world is changing. I think also that there are two departments which we really sort of touched on, where you're going to see less staff, front desk, and the waiter situation. But the big winner actually is going to be housekeeping. That department will expand, and its level of importance rises dramatically when you consider that it's no longer acceptable for any room to be less than 100%. You are going to need to put technologies in place to do it. You are going to need the staff to do it. I mean, I visited one hotel once. They had about 1,200 rooms, very big place, and they used to bus villagers from a local village in to clean the rooms, with the mama kind of looking after them, telling them where to go. That's not going to work anymore. You need qualified housekeepers. You need people that are actually fully committed and able to understand and will treat it as a career. Because now all of a sudden, I would imagine that the salary for housekeepers has risen. If it hasn't yet, it should do. And they are going to need to be considered at a much higher level than in the past. Housekeeping is up there at the front of your hotel. It's the thing that a bad review on TripAdvisor, you might get away with it. Several bad reviews, and it could be enough to really hamper your existence as a hotel. Whatever the price of the rooms are, it won't matter anymore. If it's dirty, nobody would want to stay there.
Actually, coming from a digital marketing and public relation perspective from my side, we are used to communicate to the audience, to the guests, to the customers, to our new travelers for example, with video marketing, and the face of the brand would always be, whether it's a corporate office, would be the CEO or the managing director or the general manager of the hotel. Now, guess who do they want to see now on video? The housekeeper. Yeah. Exactly.
It was on LinkedIn today. There was one hotel group, and they were passing a certificate to the housekeeper of the month. Which is what it should be. These people have been not rewarded, shall we say, for many, many years, and now they are being recognized. Now their role in the existence of the hotel, in the future of the hotel, in the RevPAR that a hotel can command, is going to be based on their performance to a large degree.
When we look at Grace, tell me, Grace. Yes.
I want to add to that, because the housekeeping position is the most hardworking, if not in the hotel. Yeah. And we at the Accra area, the housekeepers actually they are winners. They are winners. I mean, they realize that this is a safety issue for the guests and for them. So they ensure that they follow all the trained protocols that's been given them, and they do that. Because if they don't do it, they don't clean it well, they understand if there's anyone infected, it will be transferred to them. So they themselves are cautious about that. They know that they have to ensure that they have their PPEs, they have to use the correct chemicals that's going to kill any viruses that is lingering around the room. And they do that. They have an understanding that this is what they have to do for their own health. For their safety, they have to do that. It's not just a duty for them. It's a duty, is they feel like it's for their own safety that they use the protocol, there's the mandatory sanitation and disinfectant standards, and for the guests. So housekeepers are winners. I love them.
I absolutely agree with you. I think the challenge you will see, though, is just in terms of, in the past, you give a housekeeper 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it might be per room type. That goes in the bin. I mean, things need to change dramatically. Every single room is going to require a full clean, and the number of housekeepers, therefore, is going to go through the roof. But again, the quality of those housekeepers, they need to be maintained. Now, it may well be at Marriott, you have fabulous housekeepers. I don't know that's necessarily true across the entire hospitality industry, but it will need to be. Yeah, well, this is where the TripAdvisor starts to creep in. It's only going to take one or two cases, and it's, you know, it is going to have that RevPAR impact that I mentioned earlier.
Well, I just had a chat recently with a former colleague in housekeeping based in the Maldives. And these guys are the heroes of the hospitality workforce, because they have to deal not just with the expectation of the new standards and protocols, but also they are the ones putting their hands into all these chemicals every day. And when it comes to cost and, you know, addressing this as a matter of fact within the industry, we know that, as you mentioned, Eric, if a room would be cleaned in 30 minutes and turned around and ready for the next guest to come, right now, the housekeeping needs a thorough cleaning that might require a few hours. On top of that, the room might not be used for probably the next 24 hours before another guest comes in. So the costs are increasing within this department, and it's right to talk about it, because it's the breeding essence of what the hygiene standards are supposed to be today.
Yes, absolutely.
When we look at the relationship between colleagues and employees, Grace, it's a difficult time, because we've had, if not our colleagues, but probably friends that have been, unfortunately, less fortunate, and I've had like bad experiences with their employers, or they had their salary reduced or so. So there's a lot of sadness in a way within this fellowship within the workforce. But how do you make sure that, for example, within your colleagues and employees and the team, you keep the morale high, you keep the positive mindset up?
We know that at this time, we have to take care of the mental well-being of our associates, because reduced salary, they don't know if all their friends in other hotels have been let go, their relatives, you know, they have relatives, they have friends in other hotels that has been let go. So there is a joke that in Accra Marriott, if you call someone to housekeeping, they think that, you know, maybe they are going to be let go. That is a mental well-being that we take care of there. We acknowledge that there's emotions involved here. COVID-19, they are scared they're going to get infected because they are working in the people industry. And being in a people industry, you can get the virus from anywhere, from your friends, from your teammates, and from the guests. So we have to ensure that we engage our staff. Marriott has partnered with Me Equilibrium, which is a well-being company that help us train us in how to handle the associates. So their mental well-being is extremely important to us, because you don't know what's going to happen. The industry, hospitality industry, is not recovering as speedily. At this hotel, we used to do 90 to 100% occupancy with very, very high revenues in events and food and beverage. Now we don't do that, because if the country is locked down, people are not coming out. But we were fortunate when the lockdown was lifted. The local guests I guess they were stayed home so much that they came out. So now they are coming out. They are coming out to our restaurants. They are coming out to eat out. They want to come out. So the local in industry, the local people, the nationals, are coming back to the hotel. And as the hotel, we need to make them feel safe. So the mental well-being of our associates is major priority for leadership at this hotel and the Marriott as a whole.
And Eric, in terms of mental health, let's talk about it, because I think it's a subject that within the workforce has been probably less spoken of. Like, in your line of work, how has this impacted the the talent acquisition process of today for you?
Yeah, I think that it's affected the talent themselves quite dramatically. The talent themselves, they are suffering as a result of this. People who thought they had a job for life, and in reality they should have had a job for life. Senior managers, have just been surprised suddenly to find that they are being thrown out, basically. Whatever the reasons for it, they still feel a little bit angry and annoyed and upset. There's been a lot of consolidation as well over the time. And frankly, that will continue even after COVID. There's going to be a lot of distressed sales of hotels. We're seeing various acquisitions and mergers already being announced in the hospitality press that will continue to put more people in this position. The challenge, I think, for the people my age, shall we say, is always going to be, what do you do next? It's it's an unfortunate truth that if you have a dynamic person, it tends to be somebody perhaps a little younger than myself, although I can be very dynamic. But anyway,
I think you are, yes.
Oh, thank you. But it makes it tougher, and there are going to be some mental health challenges to deal with in these situations. But also that equally impacts those housekeepers that you were talking about earlier, the front desk staff. Suddenly, we're afraid to get too close, and in a hotel, that hospitality, we've been taught for years about engaging with the client. It is this one-to-one personal relationship, and today that has been sort of hit with an axe. The world has changed in terms of how we engage and how comfortable we are engaging with each other. So it will take time. I think people's bruises will heal over time. But the most important thing is, let's not add to it by putting people in a situation where they feel anything less than 100% safe. And I'm specifically referring to housekeepers, to any front desk type staff. Let's just make sure they feel protected.
Absolutely. When you look at the as we mentioned before, the building of a mindset around it, to understand that these people that are in the front line, the entire room division team, whether that is front office, guest relations, the porters, even as we said, the housekeeping, all the people behind the scene, they need to feel safe first, because they are the ones that are handling directly a potential cross-contamination or a potential spread.
You have a fear of death. It's as simple as that. So frankly, we are very lucky. I know that sounds a little bit wrong, but this COVID-19 has taught us a lesson and has given everybody a slap in the face. But the death rate is about 2 to 3%. And we have had the time as a result of that to actually start to come out with new vaccines. If this had been more severe, like the SARS earlier, where you were talking about 20 to 30% death rate, if that had been as communicable as COVID-19, we would be looking at a very different situation today. So I think lessons need to be learned. We need to sort of embed hygiene throughout the world, not just hospitality, but just everywhere, to make sure that people feel safe. And if a guest comes in coughing, that's going to be a challenging one, but I would suggest also that specific rooms are put over to one side for where if a guest appears to be anything less than 100% in their health.
Exactly. But it's a good point, actually. Grace, what are the silver linings of the hospitality workforce for you? Like with your team at Marriott, you've been handling the whole thing from the beginning until now, and a lot has been learned, a lot has been trained upon. What are the silver linings? Where are the positives? that you can, the gains that you've had out of this last month?
Like I said earlier, the positives are creating an environment where the associates feel safe and the guests feel safe. So when you create an environment, when an associate comes from home and comes to an environment where protocols, COVID-19 pandemic protocols are being enhanced or are being done at the workplace, that's the silver lining. They feel comfortable, they feel safe. Before, when the thing started, they were even afraid to get out of their house and come to the workplace because we are doing with people there. We are frontliners. So they were afraid that their teammates may get it. I'm going to clean the guest room and all that. But with information, with engaging them and giving them information, putting the posters everywhere, talking to them constantly, and making them feel comfortable, they then feel safe. Then the guests also feel, that's a silver lining. The guests enter our hotel and they feel it and they write about it on TripAdvisor. They write about it that, well, I went to Accra Marriott and these people are on top of their protocols because we make them feel safe. Because the guest doesn't feel like they want to go to a hotel and get affected with the coronavirus 19. So that's the silver line. Now the guests are coming back. Now they are coming back. They are not coming back as before, but they feel comfortable, they feel safe in the environment, they're coming back. And the staff that has the jobs, they have kept their jobs, that's a silver lining. Then we are doing multitasking. COVID has taught us to have a leaner workforce and do multitasking and cross-utilization of our resources. So other staff are retrained, cross-training in other departments. Now you don't come in and do just one task. You come in and you have to do multiple tasks, and we have to train them. So we gave them new skills. That's the silver lining, giving them new skills to do more job. And we save money. Even after the business recover, we have associated as multitasking. That we will save revenue, we save money, we save costs from ensuring that we have a leaner workforce than before. So owners are happy because you are giving them profit. Revenues we are managing our costs well. So that is a silver lining for the business, for all of us.
Beautiful. And it actually shows a creative thinking out of the box mindset and approach to business. Eric, from your end, what are the silver linings? What are the opportunities that you've seen so far?
I think the silver linings are really associated with technology, with our move into a new world. As I mentioned earlier, there was a slow move towards kiosks. There was, there's types of jobs that you mentioned earlier where computers can do it and giving us more free time to engage directly with the guest. Those types of technologies arriving is a good thing. The silver lining for the world as well is just, we've all sort of understood over this time the value of each other. And I think we will emerge from this when this great return happens with a newfound respect, love and admiration for the people around us. For those people that worked all the way through, from the housekeepers to some of the front desk staff and waiting staff and so on, to the shop workers, to the people that kept the supermarkets open, the people that picked up our rubbish, the people that risked their lives every day. And that's not even covering the health workers. So perhaps we might have just about emerged blinking into the light with a newfound compassion. And that would actually do for me.
I think it comes quite at the perfect time on a day like this, on a Thanksgiving Day, where we look at the human capital of the hospitality industry, tourism industry in general, and we turn to our colleagues, teams, employees, associates, and we just say a big thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for working hard towards the recovery of this industry. We need to be really thankful that everybody was open-heartedly keen to contribute to this recovery. And Grace, as you said, you never let anybody go within the team at Marriott, and right now you are also resurfacing. The last few minutes of our panel, I'd like to know, from a domestic market point of view, when now we are looking at re-welcoming guests to the hotels, international travels is still tricky with all the different limitations and restrictions. So we look at the domestic travelers. So we look at our neighbors who come and stay in the hotel. So what is the relationship now between the hotel team and their own neighbors, their own fellow citizens? Is there sort of collaboration there between them, or how is the team now working with the domestic market, given that international tourism is still pretty much low at the moment?
With Ghana, with Accra Marriott, like I said earlier, the domestic market is what we are getting a lot from. People were tired of staying home, so now they are coming out. They are coming out to eat, they are coming to our restaurant, they are coming to stay in our hotel. So we have to make it happen. We have to bring the recovery to the people. We have to ensure that when they come, they feel safe, they feel comfortable to come back again. So the collaboration between the nationals and the workforce is to ensure that we take care of them when they come to our hotel. At home, we have to ensure that the hygiene protocols are followed by all of us. You bring it home. What you learn at the workplace, you bring it home. And this is something that is being talked about in the nation. Proper hand washing. Ensure that you cough in your arm. Ensure that you take care of yourself, because if you are safe, your family is safe. If your family is not safe, you come to the workplace and infect people at the workplace, it will not be good for all of us. And I wanted to also correct that we didn't let people go from the beginning until August, September, when people's contract needs to be renewed. That's when we don't know the recovery process. So annual contracts were not renewed from August, September, but we kept everybody on from March to August to September with reduced hours and reduced salary, which was engaged with all stakeholders, and everybody was willing to work with it. So that's what we have done here at Accra Marriott.
Thank you, Grace. And I wish to thank all of you for joining, Eric from UK and Grace from Ghana. Okay.
Well, thank you for having us. Okay. Thank you so much for having us. Today being Thanksgiving, we are just so grateful that we are all alive. We have our families. Some people may not have their families at this point, and our heart goes out to them. But as being Thanksgiving today, we are just grateful that we have our team in place. We didn't lose any of our team members, any of their family members, and we are so grateful that this day has come and we are all alive. That's what I want to end with.
Very well said, Grace. Thank you, Eric.
And thank you very, very much for your time. It's been a pleasure to be part of this panel. And I will hope that in 12 months' time, we get to do this face-to-face.
Yes, with pleasure. Avec plaisir, so they say in Mauritius as well.
Merci.
Have you all a wonderful day ahead, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.